Slug FPV, do you want to wake up the beast in your Emax NanoHawk? Well, stick around and I will show you how to do this. Those of you who are not familiar with Project Mockingbird, it is the brainchild of Patrick Clark and other tiny whoop enthusiasts wanting to get the most performance out of their brushed and brushless whoop class quads. I will link Patrick's website below. Basically, Project Mockingbird takes your standard stock whoops and applies a tune that makes them top whoop racing quads. One of the projects is for 65mm brushless whoops, like the Mobula 6, in conjunction with EmuFlight, which has specialized features specifically for whoops, to come up with a racing tune. This tune is what I used on the Emax NanoHawk with some minor tweaks, which I will go over in the EmuFlight configurator. For details on the tune, it is spelled out in great detail on the Project Mockingbird website, so I'm not going to be going over that. Before I get started, danger, danger, Will Robinson. I do not recommend, if you are a new pilot and or not comfortable with updating firmware, I would say I would stay away from this firmware upgrade. Yes, Betaflight and EmuFlight are related, but there's enough differences that it could be painful for you to recover your quad's firmware if you do not know what you are doing. I do really recommend that if you try this, that you need to take a backup by doing a CLI diff all command in the Betaflight configurator and keep track of the target board that you are using before you get started on this, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Second warning, this is a high performance tune for racing, not saying it's not worth upgrading to if you are an average pilot like myself, but it is a tune where you feel like you are definitely flying on rails, literally. You just have to fly it in order, it's hard for me to describe. It is just a very laser focused tune. And if you're more into relaxing, bumping around type flying, this is not the tune for you. However, I personally will be leaving this tune on because I like it so much. But if you are wanting a looser tune, this is not the tune for you. It's very stiff, but it's very fun to fly. So if you want something that you can really speed around in your house, this is the tune for you. So let's get started. One of the requirements for the Project Mockingbird tune is to go with what's called reversed props or props out configuration. So it's a rotation where the props are rotating away from the center line of the quad. The NanoHawk is actually shipped with what's called a props in configuration, where the rotation is towards the center line. And that's typically the standard rotation for a 5-inch quad. Well, you do get a slight performance improvement, and that's what a lot of the racers do by going to on these nano quads and tiny whoops, is to go with a props out configuration. And basically that's balancing out the efficiency between the front and the rear props. Actually, the rear props have to work harder because they have to deal with what's called dirty air. As the quad is flying through air, it's creating turbulence, and so it gets the dirty air, the front props get the clean air. So a more efficient rotation for the rear props to counteract the dirty air is to go with what's called a rotation that's props out or reversed. So with motors that aren't super powerful, the racers all go to what's called a props out configuration for nano quads and tiny whoops. And so that's the rationale behind it, and the actual CLI dump that you get from Project Mockingbird requires that you go to a reverse prop rotation. So after you've loaded the BL-HELE configurator, next what you're going to do is you're going to need to connect to your quad. So you have to plug in the battery and then plug in to a USB port. So I've already done that, and you'll see a COM port come up. So I'm going to go ahead and hit connect. Okay, then what you're going to want to do next is read the setup. And as you can see, I've already reversed all my motors. So all you really have to do is go into each one of the ESCs. Instead of normal, you just select reversed like I've done here. And then you just do right setup. And that's it, as simple as that. So before you start upgrading to EmuFlight and the Project Mockingbird tune, you absolutely want to save your Betaflight configuration. And how you do that, it's the same way through EmuFlight as it is through Betaflight Configurator. You're going to go into the CLI page or tab, and you're going to type in diff space all, and it's going to dump your configuration. And then what you're going to do, you're going to go over here and do a save to file, and just put it somewhere in a directory that you have. So, and that's it. But you definitely want to do that because let's say you don't like the EmuFlight Project Mockingbird tune. So it's an easy way, just no harm, no foul. Just go back to the Betaflight version that you've been running and just cut and paste your diff file and you're back to where you were. So to use my diff file, what you're going to need to do is go ahead and select and do what's called a screen scrape, where you copy all the information from the diff file down to the save pound, and you're going to do on a Windows machine is a Control-C to copy that. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hit Control-V to paste that, enter, and it's going to go ahead and copy the config information. And at the end, it automatically does a save here in a second. So it automatically saved that configuration, and now you're set up. So next what I want to do is just briefly show you the minor changes that I did from the Project Mockingbird tune, which is basically first thing I did was in the configuration, you really have to change the orientation of the gyro alignment and the accelerometer alignment, because basically the little NanoHawk, the flight controller board is rotated 90 degrees and it's upside down. And so you can see here that it's flipped 180 degrees clockwise on both the accelerometer and the gyro, plus for the yaw, again, it's rotated 90 degrees there. And so that's really one of the big differences that I had to do to get it to use the Project Mockingbird tune. The other thing I would recommend, they had a minimum cell voltage, I think, of 3.0 and 3.1. I went ahead and bumped that up a little bit. With this connector, you don't get quite the voltage drop, and wanted to protect my batteries a little more, so I set it to 3.1 and 3.2. The other thing I'll have to show you in the CLI dump is they had to remap the resources because of the orientation of the flight controller being upside down and rotated 90 degrees. So if you go up to the top here, you can see where I had to change the resource assignment for the motors. So the motor mapping had to be changed. So that's really the simple changes I had to make to use the Project Mockingbird tune. And other than that, it's pretty much everything that I got from the website. So next, what I'm going to do is go ahead and show you one of my flights. And for me, I highly recommend this Project Mockingbird tune. The quad flies great. You just point and go. If you're into racing, this is definitely the tune for you. So with that, thanks for watching my channel.